Hey guys, King Shock here, back again with another podcast, Beyond the Pixel. I have one of my co-hosts here, Dismount,
What's up?
and we're here to tear COD a new asshole. No, I'm just kidding. World War II is the new Call of Duty. It's gonna come out and either below expectations or meet expectations, which are set very, very low after Infinite Warfare. So let's go ahead and discuss the hands-on experience. Dismount, you've had hands-on experience with this game. You've breathed it. You've raged at it. You throw your controller across the room like a classic COD game. What are your thoughts on this private beta?
I really liked it. I don't. I'm not a big fan of the whole pre-order thing to get bonus stuff. I feel like it's a way for these game companies just to like kind of. I mean, I've seen games come and go from pre-orders. Games that could have been really great didn't get enough pre-orders, so they scrapped the project. And so I'm not a big fan of that. But I did pre-order the game just so I could play the beta because I love Call of Duty. This one's back to boots on ground. I'm super excited about it. So I really wanted to play it as soon as possible. And I really liked it. I thought it was a lot of fun. It was back to that classic COD shooter. The thing that I really liked about it was that with the jump pack era, it kind of made the game more fast paced, and I like that fast pace about Call of Duty, as opposed to like the more tactical stuff like with Ghost Recon or Battlefield. But this game, with the way they have, at least the maps they had for the beta, they only had I think 3 maps for the beta. It still seemed really fast paced. Like there was never a lot of. I know one of the biggest complaints with Call of Duty Ghost was a lot of camping and it was slower paced, and a lot of the pro players just didn't like it as much because of that. But this one really seemed like it was still fast paced, just like the jump pack era. So I think they did a nice job of keeping the game fast and interesting, but also going back to classic, like I said, boots on ground. So I really enjoyed it.
All right, so it seems to be a common theme now that once you go so far in the future, I guess you have to go to the past to bring it back. And I guess this is a perfect example of a game that's been essentially remastered because their new content sucked. Like Infinite Warfare just tanked. And
Terrible.
it let's just go ahead and start with some of the issues I would like to see fixed from Infinite Warfare, and let me know if you from this beta have they actually fixed some of these. So first thing that I hated about Infinite Warfare was the side weapon upgrade that you could only get by playing hours and hours of a game to maybe get it, or pay to play to get the best version of that weapon. So first thing, do they have anything like that in this beta?
Again, it's a beta, so I mean, they could add more stuff when the game's released. But from what I've seen, is there's really no place for it. Weapon upgrades are, I mean, for the most part, it was just attachments for the gun. I didn't even see any kind of skins in the game yet, and I don't know if that's just something they haven't done yet or if they're not going to. Um, Also, with the guns, they did away with the pick 10 system, so now it's back to um, you have a primary, a secondary. There's a perk where you can take a primary as a second weapon, and I mean that's it. There's no You get 2 attachments per gun, and basically none on your secondary. So yeah, kind of went back to that classic COD stuff.
So it almost seems like Battlefield 1 because you only had your primary weapon, your handgun, and like a physical weapon, which I liked. So with these older like style games, when I mean style, I mean they're placed in the era of World War II, or the World Wars in general. And what do you think COD's going to do gameplay wise that you haven't seen yet, um, to help keep the game fast paced? Because almost every COD game feels feels like a different game per se.
Like I said, this one still seemed fast paced. Like I said when I was playing it, I mean, obviously at spawn there was the maps are big enough to where you're not running into people right away, and there's usually no basically direct line of sight from one spawn to the other. But there they still have the classic Call of Duty like 3 lane style, so you got left, middle, and right lane. But what they've done with that is they've added pathways that go in between them. So you could start off middle, and there's 4 different points down the map where you could change lanes. And then also they've kept with um, the kind of height elevation that you got from the jump pack games, except for the fact that there's no way for anybody to easily get up there to kill you. So you have, high points where you can, kind of cover an area and cover lanes and stuff like that. So it's you still have to watch everywhere you go, high and low. You can't just run through the map like you could on like previous Call of Duties. It still has that height advantage like the jump pack games did, but without the ease of accessibility to get to them, you actually have to fight your way to those positions. So
All right, all
yeah,
right. So definitely, I hope to see like gameplay design that allows people to get like vantage points, not through like jumping up places or flipping and running on the side of the wall, but actually using some type of tactics to get an advantage, but not just sit there and camp. I hope they because that seems to be that's like a common theme for Call of Duty is everyone's a camper of some kind. Like there's that one map where you play a certain gun or you pretty much just sit and wait. So
right. And that's I think that's kind of why they did um, the whole like multiple points to get into different places the way they did. Like I said, it keeps it fast paced, but it also keeps people like all the maps that I played. There's no one place where you can just sit and have the advantage. Like you may have an advantage looking at a certain position, but there's 3 different ways that people can flank you from that position. So if you're not working together as a team and holding that high ground in all aspects, then you're going to get overran pretty quick.
okay. So the next point I want to move to is I mentioned earlier how each Call of Duty game feels like a different game, and you mentioned that it still feels fast paced. But however, how does the shooting feel? I feel like with each Call of Duty game, like Black Ops 3 had better hitbox and aiming than Infinite Warfare, where it was atrocious, where you feel like you either are getting shot and dead in 1 second, or it's taking you at least a million bullets to kill one person. So how does it feel within that regards?
I feel like for the most part, it was more. Uh, it just kind of depends on what weapon you were using. The STG was really good at like close to mid range. The submachine guns were definitely a close range weapon. You weren't, killing people from, halfway across the map with a submachine gun. But at the same time, each gun, I feel like you really have to pay attention to the stats and what you want to do, and they have that variable of rate of fire. That was always the biggest thing was rate of fire and damage per bullet. Um, and they've really, so far from what I've seen, obviously there's gonna be balances and stuff, but so far from what I've seen is that they kind of basically all balance each other out. It just more plays into your play style. So if you're the kind of guy that's a spray and pray guy, you want something with a high rate of fire because probably not all of your bullets are going to land. With that being said, there was a sniper rifle called the Commonwealth in there that
Mm-hmm.
was pretty much a guaranteed if you hit him from the waist up, one shot kill. On the other side of that, it was a semi-automatic sniper rifle, and I don't remember what the name of it is right now. But I mean, if you were hitting them in the chest, it would take 3 or 4 bullets to down them. So it's balanced somewhat, but obviously they're going to be doing more balancing. Another thing that they did away with was quick scoping, because there's actually a delay from aiming down sights to when you can fire.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're running a sniper rifle and you watch these videos of people quick scoping and like they don't even actually look down the sights, they just kind of aim in to get that bonus for accuracy. You actually have to be physically looking down the scope before it will fire because there's a delay in there.
I do love that feature. I used to hate people who just run around, in quick scope. Makes a cool YouTube video, but it's a pain in the ass
Right.
when you're actually playing the
Well,
game.
they've done so many things to try and combat that. I mean, Black Ops had where when you aim down sight, like it would veer up and to the right or up and to the left. Well, people got used to that and they could compensate with it with their right thumbstick, move it down, move it, down left, down right, whatever, and
Right.
still get that quick scope going. Whereas this one, there's actually just a physical delay from aiming down sights to firing your weapon.
That's very interesting. Which, if they're so focused on balancing, the one thing I hope they don't bring back is that side weapon stuff. That's just another side note. With the Infinite Warfare, that side weapons, which then brings up my next topic is DLC weapons. It seems like with every at least modern COD game, you had your DLC weapons that made the game completely unbalanced. Do you
Right.
think they can still get away with that with an older style game, or that makes it unbalanced, or are we actually going to see DLC weapons that help maintain that level of balance within the game?
I would say that's the thing with this kind of period, with the World War I and World War II. I mean, we saw Battlefield One earlier, or what was it? Last year it came out,
Yep, last year with EA.
and there was a limited selection of weapons in there. I felt like, but then you look at the period, and I mean, there was a limited selection of weapons then that was used in combat. So I feel like as they were going towards the future, there was like I mean, the sky was the limit. You could do whatever you wanted to with weapons. You could have laser weapons, physical weapons. There's all different kinds of stuff you could do. But they've stressed in every interview that I've seen that they want to keep this game authentic to the World War II era, and make it as realistic as possible, still being a fun game. So with that being said, I don't see how they could have really any kind of DLC guns. I feel like more of the balancing would just come from balancing weapons out rather than adding new weapons that you can, pay to buy or whatever.
Right. Which brings me to I'm going to bring up my second to last point, which is zombies. Zombies
Mm,
has now become a staple in the COD franchise since Black Ops,
yes.
and I'm really interested to see if they're going to release any zombie beta maps, or any zombie, open beta where you just only play zombies, because they have a lot they can do with, to me, with World War II and the Nazis, even though they had that in Black Ops. However, Black Ops was released so far ago that I feel like they could bring it back and it would be authentic to the era, and it would
Yep.
also add a level of freshness to the game because they're talking about being all authentic and real, which to me limits the amount of what type of DLC they can release for this game to keep
Right.
it fresh. Unless they're pulling that, yeah, we're gonna let this game out for a year and then next year we're gonna come out with something completely new, and
Yeah.
it's going to basically let this become Black Ops 3. However, they kept releasing a lot more DLC for Black Ops 3 than they did for Infinite Warfare
Yeah.
because that was their moneymaker.
Yep. Well, with that being said, I mean, zombies has been around since World at War. I mean, that was where it originally came out on, was World at War.
See, I didn't get into the COD until Black Ops 3, so I just
Yeah.
assume the earliest one I've played was Black Ops and it was there. So I think, oh, maybe this is where it started.
Was
But
Yeah, and I believe one of the DLC packs they had for Black Ops was the original maps from World at War. And when Treyarch did zombies, it was just meant to be kind of like a fun side thing. And the original map was there was no perks machines. There was a sniper rifle you could get, a couple weapons on the wall. There wasn't much to it. They just kind of wanted it to be a side thing. Well, so many people liked it that was when they started releasing. As the DLC would come out, they would release a new zombie map, and they started adding all the new stuff to it. And for the longest time, it was just Treyarch. It was only on the Black Ops games. Well, then I believe it was Advanced Warfare had a zombie type mode, and
mm-hmm.
ever since then, like all three of the developers have actually put zombies in there. So I'm kind of interested to see um, what these guys are going to do with it. And like you said, it's with it being that World War II era. I mean, the Nazis were experimenting on people and doing this and that. So it's all you know plausible that it could have happened.
right, do you think
So
they're gonna go with a new direction with zombies? Because it seems like
it
zombies is the same old. Are
Yeah.
they going to try anything new with this one, or is it going to be just a remake of at World at War?
What I've read so far online, they're going kind of a different direction with it. It's going to have actually like boss zombies in there, and the way it sounded was like some of the maps or some of the sections of the maps or whatever would be classic zombies where it's just get as high as you can. But then the way they made it sound in some of the articles that I read was that there's actually going to be an end to some of the levels to where it's not just get as high as you can. So you actually have to fight your way through something, kill a boss, and then you've won that level or whatever. So uh, it's they've been kind of really quiet about it. There's been a few things released about it, a few things that they've talked about, but I'm really interested to see where it goes because I absolutely love zombies.
Right. I like zombies too, but I kind of wish it was like different game modes where you either you face a boss or it's kind of like a survive until you die mentality
Right,
or
right.
game mode. So, all right, final point. Will this save the COD franchise? Because the COD shooters right now are kind of in a downward spiral, in my opinion, because of the developers that are backing them. Rainbow Six Siege reaching over 20 million people. However, the game still has so many problems, so it's not really something you want to play unless it's free for the weekend. Battlefield 1, owned by EA, gets lack of DLC. Like, they have really great games, but they just shoot their own games for themselves. And then we have Activision with Call of Duty, that they get one good game and then the next game is shit. So it seems like they're on the good game cycle, but will they maintain that and set a new standard? Because games like PUBG, now being one of the number one streaming games on Twitch, as an early access game, getting completely decimated by I'm sorry. These games right here are completely getting decimated by an early access beta game that now has an esport, has an invitational, and is going to start making tons of money while these games are going to slowly start dying out. So will this save the franchise dismount?
I don't know that it's going to. I believe that it's going to bring a lot more people back to Call of Duty. I feel like the pro scene is kind of taking a different turn with the jetpack games, and they've even said that like watching the Call of Duty championships this year that they were specifically calling people like, oh, he's the number one jetpack era Call of Duty player, and so they were kind of like separating the last couple of games from the previous generations, and I feel like this one's going to bring a lot more people back to the table. I feel like you're going to have different players in there, which is going to spice things up and get more people watching it. As far as streaming, I don't I don't really think you can beat PUBG right now streaming just because it's there's so many different
It's
aspects to
blown
it. You
up.
have comedy in it. You have the action. You got the serious players. There's just so much stuff you can do with it. So I feel like that's why a lot of people are on it right now, is just because there's something for everybody in that game.
Right.
Uh, but I feel like this new Call of Duty will keep hardcore Call of Duty esports fans around, and I feel like it's going to bring in a lot of new people to the Call of Duty esports scene just for the fact that, like I said, it's an interesting game to watch. It's still fun, and it's still gonna be fast paced, like the last couple games. So I feel like it's going to. I definitely feel it's going to revitalize the franchise. I don't know that I would say it's going to save it, but I hope it does. I really, really do.
Yeah, I think if this game flops, which I don't think it's going to, based on your reaction and a lot of people's reactions to this game, that it's definitely going to sell higher than Infinite Warfare. I don't think it's going to sell as high as they had hoped. But one thing it does have going for them is no one's really competing against them in November. I mean, Destiny's getting released in September. However, Call of Duty, classic Call of Duty always comes out in November, I believe. So,
Yeah, it was November 7th, I believe, is the release date for this one.
right. So there's, last year we had Battlefield 1. So it's like you pick Battlefield 1 or Infinite Warfare. And if you waited, you got Battlefield 1. So now, Battlefield is like on like a 3-year cycle for one game, which is to me terrible. And this game really has no competition except for Destiny 2, but Destiny 2 is getting released in September. So when people start getting a little tired of Destiny, because you know how long it takes to get new DLC, which will probably be relatively quick, just the nature of Destiny, but we'll talk about that in a different podcast. And I think this game is going to sell a lot more because of the lack of competition. 2017 has not been that great for games, as in we've had very few great games, and then it's just kind of just been like a void of gap of time between the next great game that lasts a little bit. That's actually new content, not just a classic remake. So, but that's all the time we have for today. Yeah. I was your host, King Shaka, and of course, the fabulous Dismount. Thank you for joining me on another podcast. Next week, we'll either talk about the Destiny 2, because that will be actually coming up within that time frame. Actually, I think when we talk about it, that's the release date. Actually, next time, the next podcast, that's their release date. So we'll talk about what we like so far, because I'm pretty sure it'll come out like that midnight or whatever, like the 5th Tuesday, like every other game comes out on like the night before or whatever. So we'll talk about Destiny 2 and what our first impressions of the game are. So see you guys next one. Make sure you leave a comment down below on what you think on Call of Duty World at War 2, what you like to see, what you saw from the private beta that you liked, what you didn't like, and what you want to see going forward. Don't forget that subscribe button as well. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.
Peace.